Deep dives and blue skies. Welcome back to Talking Blue with Nick, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Talking Blue, the best Dodgers analytical podcast that you can find. I am your host, Nick. Today you are listening to episode 28. That's right. 28 episodes of Talking Blue. Today we're going to recap the Dodgers-Cardinals series that just wrapped up. Dodgers drop 2 out of 3, lose the first 2, salvage the series, win the final game on Sunday. We're going to get into all that. Hopefully the setup doesn't look too off right now, but we're going to try to make it work. You can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can follow my personal X at Talkin' Blue Nick. Follow us at Talkin' Blue Pod on all social media. Follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. Let's do some injury updates. Of course, the Dodgers have had a ton of injuries. So, of course, since we last did a series recap, there have been a lot of things that have happened. So I won't go too far into that. But in terms of recently, of course, Yates and Michael Kopech come off the IL. They both pitched in the Sunday game. So that's really good to see. I said before the series recap that it was possible that they would come back. They do come off. Before the Saturday game, they were activated. But then, of course, Tony Gonsolin is the move. Of course, when the Dodgers bring up 2 players, they have to send down 2 players or take 2 players off the roster. One of them is Tony Gonsolin. Tony Gonsolin has elbow soreness. He goes on the IL. They said that they did scans, and his UCL is intact. So that is good news. But Tony Gonsolin hadn't been pitching good lately, so that's unfortunate. The Dodgers just can't catch a break with their injuries and with these elbow injuries. But Roki Sasaki, he began playing catch on Wednesday. Tyler Glasnow, there was kind of weird reports that he threw a bullpen and then experienced more soreness, but then they called it general body soreness. And he's going to throw a pen again soon. He kind of came out and said it wasn't a big deal. Blake Snell should be throwing off a bullpen in San Diego in a couple days. Obviously, Evan Phillips the other day, thought that he's going to need Tommy John, so he's done for the rest of the year. And then the last update, Emmett Sheehan. He was a young right-hander, came up in 2023, threw a lot of big innings for the Dodgers. He's began his rehab assignment. It looks like he could join the team within the next month. He's looked really good, so I won't talk too much about him, but that is good news that the Dodgers could get some reinforcements back. So they do get Kopech and they do get Yates back. So that is good news. So let's go ahead and get into the first game. Obviously, overall was somewhat of a frustrating series. Kind of the first time all year that the Dodgers have had really bad at-bats with runners in scoring position. They've been one of the better teams with runners in scoring position all year. But let's get into the first game. This was on Friday night. Justin Robleski comes up to make his start. He goes up against Sonny Gray. So in the second inning, the St. Louis Cardinals got on the board. Pedro Pages hits a 2-run homer to put the Cardinals up 2-0. Later on, Robleski is battling to get through 5. Brendan Donovan, we talked about him in the preview series. He comes up with a big 2-out hit to make it 4-0 Cardinals. Wilson Contreras would hit a solo home run to make it 5-0. The Cardinals would win by a score of 5. Robleski does get through 6. Anthony Bonda pitches 1, and then Chris Stratton pitches 1. He eventually got DFA'd. So the Dodgers, like I said, lose by a score of 5-0. Justin Robleski goes 6 innings, 6 hits, 4 earned runs, 3 walks, 5 strikeouts. We'll just quickly talk about Robleski. He actually, it's kind of funny, didn't necessarily pitch horrible. I kind of talked about he always had struggled in his young career as a Dodger, so kind of didn't have too high of expectations for him. The fact that he was able to go 6 innings is good, and he kind of got popped for the 2-run homer, and then wasn't able to get through that inning without allowing some runs. But like I said, he does get through 6, so that did help the bullpen. Strikes out 5. His velocity was up a lot in this start, so he actually maxed out in the first inning at 99 miles an hour. 98.8, which gets rounded up to 99, but I've talked about it before. He's always had really good stuff. It's only 7 whiffs in the game, but he's got a really good cutter that he mixes in. So he looks like a guy who is promising for the Dodgers and someone that they'll probably give another shot to, considering that he looked decent. But like I said, the Dodgers have so many injuries right now, and they have so many guys that they can't rely on that they had no choice but to have Robleski come up and pitch. So all in all, he did what he did his best, gets through 6, which is good. But at the end of the day, the story of this game, and of course we'll get into game 2, it's the Dodgers leaving a ton of base runners on. So the Dodgers, like I said, the Dodgers get shut out in this game, but they did have 10 hits, and they were not able to drive in a run. Mookie Betts had 3 hits, which is nice that he's heating up a little bit as of late. Andy Paz also had 2 hits, but the Dodgers just could not get that one big hit. There were a few times that they left runners on with less than 2 outs, and it was a really frustrating game to watch for sure. Definitely could have won this game, but at the end of the day, if you don't come up with that big hit, you're not going to win any game. So not really much to talk about from this game, and it's going to be somewhat similar in game 2. This game was Yoshinobu Yamamoto taking on Eric Fetty of the Cardinals. So not a lot of scoring in this game. The Cardinals scored the first run of the game in the bottom of the 8th inning. At this point, Ben Kasparius was in. There was 2 outs in the inning. A couple runners on base. Comebacker that hits off of Ben Kasparius. He tries to corral the ball and get the out at first. And then he does not get the out at first. And then the runner, Mason Wynn, scores on that throw. And on that play to put the Cardinals up 1-0. The Dodgers do somehow, someway score and tie up the game. So in the top of the 9th inning with Ryan Helsley pitching, Mookie Betts and Shohei get on base. Freddie Freeman is up on third base, strikes out, but a drop third strike, the ball gets away, which allows Shohei to come in to score to tie the game. Dodgers would not put any more runs on the board, so they tie the game up. Immediately go into the bottom of the 9th. Ben Kasparius goes back out. A couple base runners are on. Nolan Arenado pinch hits. Dodgers have a 5-man infield. He hits a fly ball to left field to walk off the Dodgers. So the Dodgers lose 2-1. Second consecutive loss. This game was even more frustrating when it comes to the runners in scoring position. So Yamamoto goes 6, Vesia for 1, and then Kasparius goes 1. Like I said, he didn't get an out in the 9th innings. We'll just talk about Yamamoto quickly because he once again was dominant. 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 0 earned runs, 2 walks, 9 strikeouts. So we talked about in the previous series how Yamamoto struggled a little bit against the Yankees. He struggled a little bit with his command, which is kind of funny. Yamamoto, I always think of him as a pitcher with pinpoint accuracy, and he pounds the strike zone. He does allow some walks, actually. He's in the 47th percentile in walk percentage in Major League Baseball. His walks have gone up this year. So he did dial that in this start against the Cardinals through 94 pitches. He had 14 whiffs in the game. 8 of them came on the splitter. 1 was on the four-seamer, 2 were on the cutter, 2 were on the curveball, and then 1 was on the... On the year, Yamamoto has a 2.20 ERA. That's 10th in all of baseball. And he also has an expected ERA of 2.76, which is 6th in all of baseball. He's got a FIP of 2.89, which is 11th in all of baseball. And his expected FIP is 2.79, which is 7th in all of baseball. He also has the 4th highest ground ball percentage in baseball and the 9th highest K per 9 among starters. So Yamamoto limits hard hit balls, doesn't allow a lot of fly balls. He keeps the ball on the ground while getting strikeouts. And he's one of the best pitchers in baseball when it comes to runners in scoring position. So Yamamoto just continues to be one of the best pitchers in baseball. It's pretty unfortunate that he doesn't get much run support when he pitches, the Dodgers don't seem to have the bats show up that day. He has one of the lowest average run supports in the game. I believe he is 2nd. And there's not really anything you can come up with or explain when it comes to that. Usually most people would say the best explanation is that when your ace takes the mound as an offense, that's win day, and as a offense, you kind of mentally relax a little bit and probably think to yourselves, we don't need to score a ton of runs because Yamamoto is only going to allow 1 or 2 runs. So that's probably the best explanation, but other than that, it's just the randomness of baseball. So it's unfortunate that Yamamoto couldn't get the win. He's only 6-4 on the year, while having some of the best numbers in baseball. Of course, wins don't necessarily mean as much as they used to when it comes to Cy Young winning and stuff like that. So he's still been one of the best pitchers in the National League. He'll definitely be an all-star, and he'll be in contention to start the all-star game. And he's definitely going to be one of the Cy Young finalists, I believe. In terms of the National League's best pitchers so far, it's pretty much been him, Wheeler of the Phillies, and then Logan Webb of the Giants. Mackenzie Gore, Spencer Schwellenbach, other good pitchers. But he's been pretty much one of the 3 best pitchers in the NL. And when it comes to Major League Baseball as a whole, he's been one of the 8 or 9 best pitchers in the game. So a lot of the best pitchers in baseball this year have been in the AL, like Tarek Skubal, Nathan Eovaldi's been really good, Garrett Crochet, Hunter Brown, Carlos Rodon. So Yamamoto, Dodgers ace right now. Where would the Dodgers be without him with all these injuries? So then we're just going to go to the offense in this game. It was pretty miserable to watch, honestly. Again, the Dodgers had 9 hits in this game while also drawing 5 walks. So 9 hits, 5 walks. And they were only able to muster 1 run, which was on a drop third strike pass ball. So, just incredible. I believe in the first 2 games they went 1 for 21, or was it 0 for 21 with runners in scoring position? That's my fault for not getting the exact number, but it was just absolutely miserable. And in the second game, it also almost became a joke where they would get a runner or 2 on with 1 out, and then they just could not get that last hit to put a run on the board. And it didn't matter who it was at the plate. Freddie Freeman, Shohei, Will Smith, who's been one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position. Muncie's been hot. Andy Pages has been very good. Conforto, it just did not matter. Tommy Edman, the Dodgers would come up with a strikeout. Someone would swing at the first pitch and roll over. A pop-up. It was just like the Dodgers, no matter what they did, could not come up with the big hit. Now, all season they've been the best team in baseball when it comes to runners in scoring position. So it's a little bit unfair to kill them because they had 1 bad weekend. I know sometimes the offense goes cold, but for the most part, they've been the best offense of baseball, certainly in the National League, probably right behind the Yankees in terms of all of baseball. And when it comes to runners in scoring position, they have been the best team in baseball. Like I said, Will Smith has been one of, if not the best hitters in baseball when it comes to runners in scoring position. Mookie Betts, who's at this point has had an underwhelming season, is still very good with runners in scoring position. Obviously, Freddie Freeman is very good. Pages has been good as well. So they have so many guys who have hit well, and that's obviously what gives them the total number of being the best team. So hopefully it's not a trend we'll continue to see because they've been great all year. So it's a little unfair to kill them, but either way, it was still miserable to watch. And when the Dodgers just continued in the 6th and the 7th and the 8th inning to not drive in runners in scoring position, it just felt like they were going to lose a 1-0 game in a typical stupid way like they did, giving up that run with Mason Wynn. And that's almost what happened. Of course, ironically, they brought in a run, and it wasn't with a hit in runners in scoring position because it was the drop third strike. Anyways, just 2 sorry, miserable games, pretty embarrassing games from the offense. And the Dodgers offense needs to show up right now because their pitching has just been killed with all the injuries, and they kind of have no room for error. So when you have a day where Yamamoto, one of your pitchers, actually shows up and gives you a chance, you got to put some runs on the board. So go to game 3 where it was much happier times. So game 3, Clayton Kershaw, Michael McGreevy. So of course in the preview series, like I said, the first 2 games were announced who was going to start. The third game was not. I thought it was going to be Dustin May versus Andre Palantes. It ends up being Kershaw. He moves up a day to start against the Cardinals. I thought that was interesting. He was on track to pitch Monday against the Padres. And then Obviously, McGreevy will go ahead in the second inning. The Dodgers finally get on the board and get a hit with runners in scoring position. Tommy Edmonds singles into center field to bring in Max Muncy. Later in that inning, Hae-Sung Kim triples into the right field corner. That brings in Will Smith and Tommy Edmonds, so the Dodgers go up 3-0. Later on, Tommy Edman again hits a weak ground ball down the left field line that sneaks by Arenado, a double into the left field corner to make it 4-0. Will Smith comes in to score. The Cardinals do get on the board. Mason Wynn doubles off of Kershaw to make it 4-1. The Dodgers would get out of that inning, though. Later on, Alec Burleson would make it a 4-2 game. Then in the seventh inning, Mookie Betts homers to left field, so he stays hot throughout this series. He was the Dodgers' most consistent offensive player. Seventh inning, Wilson Contreras would single. This was off of Kirby Yates. He came in to relieve Jack Dreyer. So it's a 5-3 game. Then later on, Tommy Edman with the bases loaded, a sac fly to right field to make it 6-3 Dodgers. Then Kike Hernandez is at the plate. Max Muncy scores on a pass ball. Dodgers go up 7-3. They would win by a score of 7-3, so they do salvage the series, avoid being swept, and win by a score of 7-3. Kershaw for 5, Lou Trevino for 1, Jack Dreyer goes 2/3, Kirby Yates goes 1/3, Tanner Scott for 1, and then Michael Kopech returns to pitch 1 inning. He looked really good. So Clayton Kershaw, we'll talk about him. This was definitely the best outing he's had so far this year, coming back for the Dodgers. He goes 5 innings, 6 hits, 1 earned run allowed, 0 walks, and 7 strikeouts. Really encouraging to see. The Dodgers just need good pitching performances with all the injuries that they have. They've been one of the worst pitching teams in baseball so far this year. So Clayton Kershaw throws 82 pitches, does get 12 whiffs in the game, which is nice to see because Kershaw at this point in his career is not going to get a ton of swing and miss. But he threw more sliders than he does fastballs, which is pretty common at this point with Kershaw. Threw 15 curveballs, 33 sliders, 32 four-seamers, and then 15 curveballs. Also mixed in 2 splitters. Were on the slider, 3 were on the curveball. He managed to limit the hard contact. He keeps the ball on the ground for the most part. And then, like I said, actually had some good swings and misses in this game. So, like I said, by far the best start Kershaw has had to this point. It's really encouraging because up until this point, he had battled through some command issues and a little bit of damage. His ERA is a 4.35, so it's still very early for Kershaw. Obviously, he's still figuring things out at this older age and trying to get back to his regular every 5-day start. You know, the last couple of years he's had so many injuries where he kind of pitches for a couple weeks, makes a few starts in a row, then has to go back on the IL or something like that. So it's nice that he was able to come back as early as he did this year, and hopefully by late June, July, August, he finds his footing and we look up and he's a reliable starter again. But I do think that at some point when the Dodgers get some starting pitching back, maybe they acquire someone at the deadline, probably won't necessarily rely on Kershaw in the end when it comes to postseason starts and something like that, but that's way ahead of ourselves. Regardless of all that, really good start from Kershaw. Obviously, anytime he can get through 5 innings and miss a lot of bats while not walking anyone, you're going to take that every day, especially with where the Dodgers pitching staff is, like I said. The fact that he can give you 5 innings, only 1 earned run, no walks. So the best part of it was that he was able to kind of lock in on his command. That's always kind of been what's made Kershaw great, is that he's never really walked a lot of hitters, while also not getting hit hard. And early on, it seemed like he was having trouble with his command. So the best part in this game, of course, was that the bats finally showed up. So the Dodgers get 10 hits. So again, really the key was just coming up with hits and runners in scoring position, because like I said, the first game they had 10 hits, the second game they had 9 hits, this game they had 10 hits. So they're around that 9-10 hits per game, but if you don't get them up with that big hit and runners in scoring position, you're not going to win. Dodgers did that in this game. Of course, Tommy Edman had a big day. He brought in 3 runs, 2 hits, Will Smith and Max Muncy also had 2 hits. Max Muncy has his OPS up to 781. That is very nice to see. And then Mookie Betts also has his OPS up to 782. He only had 1 hit today, but it was that home run. Did hit a couple balls hard. Also got robbed of what should have been a hit. Hit a ball up the middle. Mason Wynn made a nice spinning throw. First baseman Contreras was clearly off the bag, but for whatever reason they didn't overturn the call. It was clearly safe, but didn't give him the call. But it's nice to see Mookie hit that home run. He had been heating up lately, pulling the ball more, hitting the ball harder, getting some hits to show for the great swing that he's been having lately. And then finally, he hits the home run. I had a feeling that was coming soon. I actually predicted him to go deep in this game, so that's nice. Obviously, it was supposed to be off of Andres Palante, but it was off of I believe it was off of a reliever because it was later in the game. But anyways, we'll take the correct prediction. So it's nice to see that Mookie's OPS, like I said, is up to 782. I'm going to soon talk about his defense. Not going to do it in this video. Kind of had to keep this video short, but in a couple of videos, I'm probably going to break down Mookie's defense. Hopefully the bat continues to heat up, and we could see his OPS get into the 800s. Same with Max Muncy. I think Mookie's going to continue to be hot, and hopefully he can continue some good at-bats against the Padres coming up. It was good to see the Dodgers get back into the win column in this game. The Dodgers' offense was just pretty miserable the first 2 games, but they kind of get back to their normal ways. Spread out offense, runners in scoring position, a little bit of power, some more walks. And as long as they get a good pitching performance on the mound, they're always going to have a chance to win. So that's going to wrap up this series review. Pretty quick series review. Obviously wasn't too much to talk about. Tomorrow I'll be making a series preview about the Padres. There'll be some more stuff to talk about there. It looks like it'll be Dustin May Monday, maybe a bullpen game Tuesday, and then probably Robleski comes back to pitch Wednesday. And I believe the Dodgers will be matched up against the Padres' best pitchers. I'm sure that they will see Cease and Nick Pivetta, and then I'm not sure who else. So Padres have been really good. Obviously, they're the Dodgers' biggest rival, so it's probably going to be one of the most fun series up until this point into the season. So Dodgers get the win on Sunday. Obviously, they lose the series, so it was a pretty disappointing series, but would like to see them turn it on against the Padres. The Padres always get up and get hyped to play the Dodgers, so I would like to see the Dodgers do that, actually. So that's going to wrap it up, episode 28 of Talkin' Blue. As always, you can get this podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Turn on the notifications so you don't miss any of the episodes. Follow us on social media at Talkin' Blue Pod. You can follow myself at Talkin' Blue Nick. Follow us on Reddit at competitive-week8715. I'm going to be posting some more stuff on there to talk to you guys. So we will see you guys at the series preview, Dodgers Padres during the weekday series. Thank you guys for listening. We'll see you guys soon.